Like it's more of a changing the chemical and biological signaling than it is to like, oh, I'm just burning calories to get some extra activity. No, I don't want to do that. I do enough walking back and forth on my property. You know what I mean? I get enough steps. Like sometimes I have to sit down and be like, I just need to sit in a cool room because it's affecting my recovery.
So what's your training split look like, your weeks? I know it's irrelevant to most, but most people are going to want to know. So say Monday.
We got a few questions.
Like,
about
what do you do
about
Monday?
Okay, so it's not the same every week, obviously.
I get that. Not the movements, but just the big overall overreaching plan. Like Monday's leg day
like
or
the
squat
goal
day.
of the day. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's certain body. Okay, so it's kind of like let's start with a bodybuilding split.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll always almost train shoulders by themselves.
Okay.
And the reason I do that is because the reason I got my shoulders large is because I avoided pressing movements and I avoided grouping that muscle group with other ones. So shoulder day is just shoulders, man, and that's worked really well for me.
Well, let's keep talking there, because I think the people that are into how physique bodybuilding type training, if I'm understanding what you just said correctly, you kept it as your own day because you're actually still training your shoulders twice a week. Your pressing movements are training your shoulders. Right. So your chest movements are training shoulders.
Correct.
So by putting it on there, you see what I'm saying? And if he stuck the shoulders with the chest,
Yeah.
then he's not going to be stimulating the shoulders.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I'll walk you through a quick shoulder day,
Yes,
just to give you an example. It's going to start with, and this one is a little different from a power building type workout. Really heavy lateral raises. Like I'll do like 25, 30 reps. And it's heavy. Like it's not, most people go too light on that exercise from what I've noticed. They don't go hard enough on that exercise. Strict rest periods, like almost 4-minute rest periods, like really try. And then I'll move on to a rear delt. That's a muscle group everyone neglects if they're trying to build their delts. That you want big rear delts.
Most definitely.
It's what gives the illusion of a large shoulder. You need that. So on that machine, that rear pec deck, you just have to go crazy on it. Again, high reps to failure. Really look at the weight too. You got to progressively overload. A lot of people don't do that when they're doing isolation work. So I'm at the bottom of the stack on my rear delts. I'm near the very bottom. Most people are like, they start at the top when they train with me. They're already halfway down. A few months later, like, damn, you get stronger if you try.
Right.
And then at that point, I'm kind of pre-exhausted, so I'll move on to like a tracked press. What I mean by that is like
a Smith machine or something like that?
Sure, like that, or like a Viking press.
Oh, yes.
Or anything like that. And again, higher reps. So I like to pre-exhaust before I do my shoulder press movements. And then usually I'll just pick, one extra one for fun and just kind of go hard, just kind of really blow up the muscle. And then that's a good shoulder day for me. And that's been working well. And then with chest, my chest is a genetic weak point. I'll focus more on flies, but I will often have to start with presses just to kind of get my body kind of going. Because if I start with flies, I kind of feel cold. And I like to do a variety of things. Hex press, dumbbell press, a Smith press is good. Bench press for fun, but I don't find it really carries over too well. And it has jacked up my shoulder a little bit. And then, shoulders are getting stimulated there. So I guess you're right, on my chest day. And then I'll move on to the fly variations just to really feel the muscle. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the way my shoulders work,
Yeah.
But, that's, okay, so you got a shoulder day, you got a chest, which has a lot of presses in it. Arms, usually, arms.
Yeah. Arm day, right?
Arm day pops in, I feel pretty good.
Yeah.
Leg day, I usually start with like a heavy squats, go really heavy on them, just like top set, and then I'll just drop down to doing lots of isolation work from there. Sometimes I'll split it up between quad and ham. You know what I mean? Like some days more quad dominates, some days more hamstring.
But still on the same day?
No, sometimes.
So different days.
Yeah,
okay,
different days
gotcha.
there. So what are you looking at, like 4 workout days, right?
Yeah, right there.
Four or 5. Yeah. Okay, so now let's look at everything else I do. I'll kind of.
Well, if you do the back, where's back fall? Does that the hamstrings? If you split it off, does that go into back day?
I usually don't do that.
Okay.
No, back is usually going to go on arms.
Okay, so it's back and arms?
Yeah, or just do back day. So what's actually interesting, if you look at a week for me, you're like 7 days?
Yes.
Well, how y'all fitting this in? Well, it's not on a 7-day split.
So,
it's usually
it's 8 days,
it's going to be 8 or 9 day splits when I get back around to things. So that, it's not like a week split. It just kind of moves its way around.
Keep going with what you were about to say, because that's important, because you say, here's the other things.
Right.
Okay, so that needs to be put in here.
Okay, so like let's say flexibility work.
Yes.
Right? I can always throw that in there, but like the splits, for example, they're permanent. my splits I get carryover from everything else I do that I can always almost do them. You know what I mean? I did the side splits for the first time in 7 months, like a week ago. It was no problem. All the squat training I do and just a couple of the warm-up exercises I'll do before leg day, that's all the training I need at this point to maintain what I've built. I find that flexibility is the easiest biomotor characteristic to maintain once you've built it. Strength, you know, Dave, what I'm talking about. Like, it has this, speed has this, endurance has this. Flexibility, once you've built it, like, it's there, man. Like, if you know what you're doing, and I know what I'm doing with it, man, it's good. It's easy to keep, you know. Explosive work and stuff is more seasonal, so I'm only going to do that when I'm lighter and during hotter months. And then what else?
Well, what's explosive work? Because people that may be listening to this are thinking like dynamic squats and speed bench, and that's not what you're talking about.
No, I'm talking about like jumps.
Jumps, yes.
Yeah, like you're jumping on boxes, you're doing backflips, you're doing aerials,
you're
doing dynamic kicks and stuff like that. I'm going to incorporate that stuff seasonally.
Do you use different surfaces too, like sand, mats, concrete, you know, for the landing?
Yes. Okay. So what I recommend is, if you have the option, gymnastics flooring is always your best bet.
Yes.
Always. Because if you're training on grass or a hard surface, what I've noticed is people that train exclusively on gymnastics flooring, which is basically plywood with some really hard springs, it gives you just a little bit of a punch, they can always go and train on the harder surfaces. There's always carryover. They're always going to beat a guy that's always training on the harder surfaces. That's what I've learned. But, you know, some people don't have access to it, so they do the best they can, you know. Sand is going to be good to, you know, if you're just want to do some flips into it, but it changes how you take off. You know, it changes the dynamics of the takeoff, the move. Trampoline, again, good for air awareness, doesn't fatigue you. You can really train the coordination component of it. You can do it longer. So it's kind of like a mixing of those things, But again, that explosive jumping work is only seasonally for me. I'm not doing that right now because I'm at my heaviest body weight. I'm like 260. There's no way in hell I'm doing flips. And I'm going to look crappy doing them anyway. You know, I'm a little soft looking. You know, I'm the strongest I am. But, you know, people want to see that when you're like shredded and you feel good and you're fast.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So there's the cardiovascular component. Do you do anything for that?
I'll do like I walk for 10 minutes after meals.
Yes.
I'll do cardio in the morning for 5 or 10 minutes, you know, just like spike it up a few times in the heart rate. Sometimes at night for 5 or 10 minutes. I never do anything like longer than that. I won't do like a 15 or 20 minute or anything longer for a cardio session. That's just, you know, the bodybuilding training's taking my breath away.
Yeah, exactly. And when you're
20 and 30 rep sets will make you breathe heavy.
Yeah. So when you're dieting, do you rely on the diet to pull the fat off, or do you also use the cardio to pull the fat off, or a combination of both?
So that's a good question. The cardio, I don't use it to burn extra calories. I just use it to help repartition and send the food where to go. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's more of a changing the chemical and biological signaling than it is to like, oh, I'm just burning calories to get some extra activity. No, I don't want to do that. I do enough walking back and forth on my property. You know what I mean? I get enough steps. Like, sometimes I have to sit down and be like, I just need to sit in a cool room because it's affecting my recovery.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So the cardio is only for my health and for like signaling, like tell the food where to go. You know, sometimes if you sit for like 6 hours, you need to get up and move around, get the heart rate up, boom. You know what I mean?
It's a recovery type thing too.
Correct.
As well.
Yeah.
Yes, it's getting that's where even the fattest super heavyweight powerlifter that really can make an argument that they don't need to do any cardio actually does, because they need to get the blood moving to shuttle nutrients to be able to help recover.
Right.
They don't need to be on a treadmill for half an hour, but walking down the driveway, coming back and forth.
Yeah, and I think the feeder workouts, you know, that was popular at Westside, you know, that's very similar idea, but it's very specific to where you're sending it. It's like, okay, no, I'm doing backward sled pulls. You know, you're taking out the eccentric component, which is helping you not overtrain, but at the same time, it's like, little quad is doing this. You just did squats yesterday, you know what I mean? So now you're sending the nutrients to your quads, which is what's screwed up, because you used them yesterday really hard, you know. Yeah,
so you put thought into that whole recovery aspect as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Recovery and training are like the same thing for me. It's like, it's all like, if you had to put it out on paper, like, there's just things you got to do.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that's kind of what we were talking about earlier when you lay it all out. You know, over a period of the year, all these things got to kind of fall into place. And then a lot of them, and the big everyone wants to talk about habits, right? Like everyone wants to create new habits. So these all end up being habits after a while.
Oh yeah.
They just have to be in there because you don't like. I don't like recovery work. Actually, I actually hate it. But if I don't do it,
I feel like shit.
I can't do what I want to do.
Yeah.
So thus, I have to do it if I want to do what I have to. It's kind of how it falls into place.
Right. Exactly.